Alright guys, today we're doing a little bit of a more abstract marker drawing today. I was in a little bit of a rut. I like to do something new every time, and I just felt like I couldn't come up with anything that I liked that was new. So one day I just kind of sat down with a Sharpie and was like, okay, I just need to put something down on paper in order to make any of this happen. So I just started just making kind of random looking loopy kind of forms and shapes that vaguely resembled my letters. I just spent a couple hours just like putting ink down until I finally started to see like a shape that I liked, which ended up being a lot closer to this, which is not great, but you know, this is the best rough draft that I could come up with. So I, you know, refined it a little bit, made some better sketches first, but the whole idea behind this one was I didn't know what to do. Couldn't come up with anything that actually sounded good. So I just started, and then it turned into something great later. All right, we're gonna go right ahead with the footage of me making this on stream. I started with kind of like the nicer rough draft one that I liked, and I decided I had to increase the size because the canvas I'm using is overall quite a bit bigger than the piece of paper that the sketch was on. I actually had to end up taping 2 pieces of paper together. And you know, for original like rough drafts and stuff, I just use whatever paper I have. I don't really have good paper for that. I have like good paper and canvases for the final only. So I'm like hobo style using lined paper. Didn't even cut the frills off. So it looks pretty janky at first, but I basically pulled all the lines out, and it, you know, completely changed the shape of it. So I had to kind of go over it and decide which of the new lines I wanted to keep, and I had to make another giant piece of paper from 2 just so that I could like kind of show which lines I liked better. And then after I finally got the lines the way I liked it, we moved on to the colors. I had no clue going into this what kind of colors I wanted to use. So I just started putting stuff down, and I didn't really like what I was seeing. I just put random colors in places. So I picked a color scheme first, and I kind of decided that I want the light colors to come from the top and then get darker towards the bottom. So I picked a nice kind of like purpley to peach color range that I thought looked nice. And then I started experimenting with the colors, just kind of throwing them down. Talking with one viewer. I was so glad to actually have a viewer because I like talking while I do stuff. So we were having a nice conversation the whole time while I just randomly put colors down. And you know, I kind of went outside the range just a little bit to see if that helped. I did not like seeing too much yellow or red. I wanted it to be, you know, more peachy if it was going to be yellow and more purple if it was going to be red. So I kind of eliminated a couple of color choices. And you know, between the multiple versions, I kind of figured out where I wanted everything. And this one that I'm coloring in at the moment ended up being like the final color study or color demo or whatever it was, where I really found out where I wanted everything to be, and I tried to make it so that 2 of the same color areas weren't like touching too much. You know, you can only do so much, but I thought I had it pretty good. And meanwhile, we're just talking about whatever. I really enjoy talking to the people in the chat. That's kind of why I stream it at all instead of just recording the process, because it's just a little bit nicer. I'd like it to be kind of more social activity anyway, instead of me being just kind of holed up in my apartment with nobody to talk to while I'm doing it. Because, you know, when I'm with friends, I want to be with the friends. I don't want to be like, hey, do you want to come and watch me just doodle on something for a while, for a few hours? Would that sound fun to you? It's like, no, I want to spend time with people, if there are people, And then when I'm alone, I can do this, but I still want to talk to people. So I have to kind of like do it online, right? So that way, you know, they're not bothered by what I'm doing. They're actually there for it. Even if it's just one person, I can talk to them about what I'm doing instead of me feeling like guilty about taking up their time. If I, you know, lived with someone, it would be different. I could just talk to them, but I live by myself, so it's a little bit lonely just talking to myself like usual. So anyway, I finally figured out where everything wanted to be. I kind of labeled which marker I used on which spots so I didn't get lost in the sauce and forget where things needed to be or which marker I used. And then on the canvas already, I have a little bit of a outline drawn, a very light outline in a basically kind of gray marker. I just wanted to make sure that the canvas proportions were right, and then I figured out all the colors and effects after that. And I kind of went back to this original colors piece to see what kind of effect I wanted to do on these colors, because you know, you don't want just blocks of color just by themselves. It kind of looks a little, you know, a little boring. So I had to add something, and I just kind of threw some stuff down. It was kind of like a particly, bubbly, textured look that I really liked. And then after I kind of settled on that, I thought for a while about what else I could do, but eventually I just decided on that. We finally get to coloring on the canvas. And this was the tricky part. All of the pieces were kind of a greatly different shape on the canvas than they were on the previous rough draft paper. Even though they were the same size, I still managed to move things around and kind of change things even after the 5th or 10th or however many iterations of this I made. So it still had a lot more thinking involved than I thought it would for this step. You know, I thought it would be kind of just like a color in the numbers type of thing, but I had to make a couple more decisions than I thought I would have to just in this part. And then I was kind of trying to decide what I wanted to do with these parts, because I wanted colors that stuck out a little bit, and then I wanted some of them to not stick out very much from the spot that they're on. So like with these red ones here, they are a lot brighter and a lot of a different hue than the background of like that orange that's there. But I kind of wanted it to be, you know, a little bit of variation in there. So some of them are like a darker orange on orange, or a darker purple on purple, or something like that. So it just looked a little bit, you know, different throughout. A little more interesting, I guess. And there I noticed that the two pieces next to each other were the same base color. So I wanted to differentiate a little bit, make it really seem like they were different shapes, not the same shape. Especially when I put the outline in, I wanted it to be kind of easier. I wanted them to kind of flow together. But, you know, c'est la vie. This is a part where I was an idiot. I forgot that there was a camera. So I did a couple of things just like really close to my face. I like to put my face really close to the drawing, and in that moment I just really needed it close up, and then I forgot in that moment that there was a camera. So I eventually put it back down where it was supposed to be, and then I colored in all the negative space with kind of like the opposite of what's there. So I put one of the darker purples on top, and then the yellowish peachy on the bottom, and like a red in the sides. And then for the outline, these are pretty smooth lines. I didn't want to screw it up, so I put in a light line, very skinny, so that I could make all the motions a couple of times, make sure I knew where I wanted the lines to be. And the great part about the skinny lines is you can see how far off they are from what you want. And then with the thick one, you don't have to draw exactly on the skinny line, you can make it so that the fat line is on the outside or on the inside, and that will compensate for some of the error that is in, because like not every line is perfect, but the thicker line is really good at covering the skinny line, and you can make another little, it's like another kind of refinement on top of it, which feels good. So here's the final piece. I think it looks absolutely amazing. Kind of simple, but you know, it captures the eye. I just love looking at it. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Come and check me out on Instagram and everything else. I sell merch on Redbubble, and I have all kinds of stuff to look at on my Instagram. I do a little bit of graffiti art as well as this abstract kind of art, and I also have some other digital works as well. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.